What if there was a blueprint, a way for you to mimic and copy what other people have done in order to hit seven figures with your school, your academy, or your coaching program? And what if I told you that there actually is? Hey, if you don't know me, my name is Jennifer. I've actually scaled multiple seven-figure businesses. And the way I did it was by following a couple of things. Number one, I had a map. So I knew exactly how to go from zero all the way to several $100,000 a month. Then I also installed some key components and systems into my business. And not only did I do it in my businesses, for the last 5 years, I've worked with over 550 other businesses, helping them install these same things into their schools, into their academies, into their programs, so they could coach their students and they could live a freedom and impact lifestyle. So in this training, in this video here, this blueprint, I want to share with you what I've learned and what I've found to be the best path to being able to hit multiple seven figures and to do it year after year. For the last 15 years and counting, we've had a brick and mortar business hitting over seven figures a year. And for the last 3 years, at the time of this recording, 2.5, 3 years, something like that, we've had an online company that's also been hitting multiple seven figures. So let me share something with you really quick and let's dive into this, because I think you're going to see just how powerful this is. You see, when you're first getting started, you need to know where you're going. I mean, you could be in a forest and planted there and just chopping away at trees, but you could be chopping yourself all the way to a cliff where you could, end up falling off that cliff. We don't want that. And so when it comes down to growing our business, and maybe you are in one of these stages right here. Maybe you're at this stage, you're doing just under 10K a month. Maybe you're stuck in that 10 to 40K range. A lot of businesses do get stuck there once they get going and they just have a hard time breaking out. Maybe you're one of the few who has broken through and you're 40,000 to 100K a month and you're bouncing around there, but you really want to be able to be destined for more. You want to get up to that 100K to 250K of consistent revenue a month. So let's look at each of these stages, and I'm going to give you the blueprint so that you can look at what would it take to hit seven figures in the next 12, 24, 36, or 48 months. I'll tell you that it took me, the first time I ever hit seven figures, I was 18 years old to about 22-ish, something like that. So about 4.5 years to hit my first seven figures. First time I ever did it with a family martial arts school. It took us about 4.5 years or so to hit it. The second time I hit multiple seven figures, it only took 24 months. So it's much more doable than you think, just depending upon what stage of business that you're in. And so let's dive in. What are the main problems that people face when they're in this 0 to 10K phase? Most of the times I see low cash flow. I mean, your business at this point, it's starving, right? And sometimes this is because it's a side hustle thing. Maybe you're doing this on the side, you have a full-time job, and you really are wanting this thing to grow, but you just are getting stuck. And there's some issues that you have in this stage with just cash coming in. It seems like maybe you get some cash coming in one month and then it just goes right back out the door. And so you're having to just start over very frequently. The other thing that we often see in this phase is poor lead flow. You're trying to figure out ways to get people to know that you even exist. And you're trying to get people to raise their hands and say, yes, I'm interested, but all the things that you're doing seem to not be working. A lot of times people get stuck in trying to figure out organic, like free, $0, because obviously there's not a lot of cash flow. So you get stuck trying to figure out, how do I get this to work to get me out of $10,000 a month? Shouldn't I just be doing that? I'm going to show you in the blueprint some things that you want to keep in mind when you're trying to break free of this $0 to $10,000 a month stage. But we have to get some acceleration and some momentum in order to break out of this. And that's where some of those key components later in the video are going to come about. Now, let's talk about this next stage. You're in that $10,000 to $40,000 a month range. You've had some success. People are actually signing up. They're saying yes. And some people are staying, and you're getting some consistent revenue here, but maybe you're towards the upper end of this 40,000 and you're kind of feeling stuck. Like you just can't break free from that and can't break through. Why? Why is that? Well, most of the time we see that this is because of unpredictable enrollments. Okay. What that means is every single month is different. You don't know if you're going to sign up a bunch of people or you're going to sign up a few people. And there's no consistency. And because there's no consistency, you can't plan. And because there's no plan, you just continue to run on the hamster wheel and stay stuck in this $10,000 to $40,000 range. Another thing that tends to happen at this range that keeps people here is poor retention, meaning we can sign people up, but once we sign them up, they have a tendency to stay for a short duration and then they're on to the next thing. And it could be because other activities or other points of their life become more important than what you have to offer them. And so we see this happen a lot that keeps people stuck from ever scaling out, because it's almost like you have to start over every single month. People leave, you have to sign up new people. People leave, you have to sign up new people. And so that'll keep people stuck here. Now, the grow phase. When you're in this phase, man, this is looking sharp. I'm somewhere in this 40 to 100K phase, but you're going to have some obstacles as you're trying to get closer and closer to that 100K a month. If you hit that magic number of $83,000 a month and you keep that consistent for 12 months, man, you now are operating a 7-figure business, a $1 million a year business. If you're somewhere up and down in that range, you're probably battling a few things. One is low or no team. You're it. You are the teacher, the janitor, the administrator, the salesperson. You do it all, the marketer. And because you're doing it all and you don't have a team, you can only do so much. There's only so many hours in the day. And when we find people in this stage of business right here, this $40,000 to $100,000 range, a lot of times they're facing burnout. They're just tired. It's a lot. And it's hard to get out of this because there's no team. And most of the time, people would say that they feel trapped because at this stage, this is a full-time business. They're making income from this. Maybe their family depends on it. Maybe there's other people that are starting to depend on this. Like we might have a team member or two, and we just feel like if we stop producing, if we stop working hard every single day from sun up to sundown and then into the night, it's all going to burn down and we're going to be left with just the ashes. This is a hard place to be, but there is hope. We can get out of that and we can continue to scale. Now, this phase right here, the $100K to $250,000 a month. When you're in this phase, there are some things that will dictate whether you stay on the low end here with that 100K a month, or if you shoot up to this 250K a month range. And one of the things that will dictate that is your strategy. Okay. If there is no strategy in place, very, very hard. We call this strategic planning. I'll go ahead and put that there. Strategic planning. At this phase, you have to start being able to pull yourself above the fray of what's happening in your business and start being able to look down like a 30,000 foot view. You're up in the helicopter and you're looking and everybody else is chopping the trees through the jungle and you're helping to determine whether or not they are going to fall off the cliff, and you're moving them in the right direction so that they can get to the destination. They can cut the path through the jungle. The other thing that really plagues people is poor scalability. When you're in this range right here, the systems that got you there usually won't get you to the next level, because the things that you built are going to only work up to a certain revenue. Maybe it works up to $1 million, but when we're trying to get to 1.5, 2 million, et cetera, those systems just start crumbling from the pressure of you putting more through it. Like your marketing system, if I turn up the volume of the marketing system, does it still give me a 3x, a 4x, or is it now giving me a 1.2x? There's things as you turn up that marketing volume and your sales volume and your retention volume, all these different things, they start breaking under the pressure. And so the great thing is, for each of these things that we have here, the 0 to 10K, we have something called Students. This is a program specifically designed to help people get their students in the door. For 10 to 40K, it's a program called Dojo. We start building out all the groundwork, the pieces that you need to build out an amazing school, an amazing academy. Then we have something called Boardroom. Boardroom is for people that are, really trying to break through to that 7-figure level. And finally, our program up here is called Legacy. And Legacy is designed to help those people be able to finally get to their dream of having a 7-figure business that they may not need to be in every single day. So we now have the map. We know where we need to go. And if you're interested in working with me in one of these programs, what I want you to do is, you can finish watching this video, obviously, but go to my Instagram. It's the Jennifer Waters, and send me a message. And just send me the message SENSEI. If you send me the word SENSEI, that's SENSEI, I will send you over information about those programs. We'll just have a chat and see which one of those programs might make sense for you to help you through the stage that you're in. But let's switch gears and let's start talking about what exactly is it going to take for us to be able to break through our bottlenecks. Like, what are the key components that we're going to need to be able to have 7-figure freedom and impact? That's what I want to talk about next. I want to make sure that we are moving through these, because when it comes to 7-figure freedom, 7-figure impact, there's a couple of things that I think you're going to want to see and in your business. The first is money. We want a lot of money. We want to be able to have revenue, but we also want to be able to have profit. And you're going to hear me talking about this a lot as well. Another thing, though, besides money, like, there's a lot of things that we could be doing for money, but we're passionate about teaching. We're passionate about changing people's lives. And because of that, we want to make a difference in the world. We want to have some impact. We want to do things. We want to change society. We want to change the world. Impact is really important for us. And we've got to have freedom as well. We can't be chained to our desk or chained to the floor where we have to teach constantly. We need to be out there living our lives and knowing that we're making a difference too. Doesn't mean we have to step away from teaching. I love teaching. That's why I'm on this video right now with you. I'm hoping to teach you something. And if you do get some value out of this, if you have an aha moment, do me a favor and leave it in the comments. That would mean the world to me. I read all of my comments, and I also think that when you share aha moments, other people also have aha moments, so we can pass along that impact. This focus filter that I'm taking you through right now, maybe you're not a client yet, or maybe you are and you're watching this to help get some clarity on what you need to focus on next. The idea here is that we know we want that 7-figure freedom and impact, but there's some things that usually get in our way to making that happen. And the first thing that happens in this journey is we tend to have low enrollments. And we don't know why necessarily that it's happening to us all the time, but low enrollments are going to stop you from getting that 7-figure freedom and impact. The other thing that's going to stop you from achieving this 7-figure freedom and impact is your monthly churn. Monthly churn is just the amount of people you lose each month. Some people call it the churn rate, the percentage of people that leave your school, your academy, your coaching program. And then the other thing that we're often plagued with is no staff to scale. I mean, you've got this amazing thing, you've got this incredible thing, this thing that you've built, but you are the only one who can run it. And because of that, it limits your ability to hit 7 figures. So what do we do with that? How do we start thinking about the processes that we need to put in place in order to break free from this? Well, the first thing we have to do is we need new students every week. We have to have a way that we could consistently enroll those students into our programs. If we can't do that, we'll never break through that bottleneck. The other thing we need students who stay for years. Students who stay. Because if we can get students who can stay with us for years, we don't have to start at ground zero every single month, signing up more and more and more and more students. Now we can sign up the students we need to grow, but we have a base where we're still collecting recurring revenue every single month and growing, which is much easier to do than trying to generate $100,000 in a month, right? And then no staff to scale. What do we need to do here? We've got to start having the ability to build talent for the future. We've got to be able to take our best students and consistently move them into a position, into a role in which they can help us scale. Or we've got to be able to have outside talent that we bring in that can help us get to that next level. Okay, you might be thinking, this is great, Jen. This is great. This is great. I'm all on board for this. But yeah, how in the world are we actually going to make this happen? Well, these are the same things that we did to help our client, Johnny. Now, Johnny is an absolutely incredible individual, very hardworking, has a school in British Columbia, Canada. And when Johnny came in the program, he wasn't a stranger to doing retention models. He wasn't a stranger to the sales process or the lead generation. But the thing that I really appreciate about Johnny is that, man, I give him something, he applies it. He just goes and he does it. He trusts that someone else has already done it. So why does he have to reinvent the wheel? You see, when we started with Johnny, he had been struggling to get to seven figures for several years. He'd already gone through the phases, the start and the build, and he was just stuck in the grow phase. And when we helped him with these, his low enrollments turned into new students every week. His monthly churn turned into students who were staying for years. And his staff to scale, well, we started focusing on the talent for the future. And now Johnny spends a lot of his time in this area of having freedom. Matter of fact, he has a full staff that runs his school day to day. And he still comes in for the major things where he feels like he's going to have the greatest amount of impact with the new students, with his after school program that he has going on, with his daughter, because she's in the school, she's training, and he wants to be there for her. But the great thing is he's been able to stack back a lot of cash, a lot of money from his seven-figure school. And he's just one example. We did this in our own school. You know, my dad had been running a school since the early 80s. And the thing about it, and about our story in particular, is, you know, when my dad started this journey, he knew that he wanted to grow a school, but he just didn't know the business side of it. And so by the time I was 18 years old, he'd been running the school my whole entire life, but it had never grown out of just a hobby. We were stuck in that 0 to 10K phase. For 20 years, he'd been doing that. And it took us getting with a mentor and learning these systems, implementing these and improving the systems that we learned in order for us to get to seven figures within, like I said, 4.5 years. And ever since then, we've never had a year that we haven't hit seven figures. We've always hit seven figures since then. And these principles, these concepts haven't just worked for me or for Johnny. They've also worked for Bill. He has a school in Tennessee. And he's at the stage right now where he's planning out his legacy. How's he going to retire? How's he going to move forward with his multiple locations that he has and pass it off to the next generation because of these same exact things? Because he was able to get new students enrolling every single week. He was able to keep those students for years, and he was able to build talent for the future. So if we look at this again, there's some things that we've got to do in order for us to be able to get these new students every single week. The first thing that we have to do is we have to think about our acquisition. How do we actually go out and get people started with us? This is what I would call a moving system. Like, we've got to get a moving system. We got to get people coming to us. We got to get them moving. The other thing that we also have to do is we have to figure out what our retention looks like. If we can figure out how to keep these students for years. We don't have to start from scratch. And then the last thing here is going to be team. So let's start over here on this acquisition side and let's look at what are the 3 things that need to happen here. The first thing is what I would call profitable programs. And what we're going to do is as we go through and I explain each of these things, if you're drawing this out on a sheet of paper too, that's cool. You're going to grade yourself with a traffic light score, right? So it's either going to be red, and red means we're not doing this, or we're doing this so bad that all systems are on hold right now. Yellow is we kind of do it, but it's not really consistent. And green is, yeah, I got that, Jen. We can check that off. I don't need help with that. And as you do this, as you go through red, yellow, and green, what's going to end up happening is we're going to know exactly what we have to focus on over the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, the next 6 months to get our business moving in the right direction. And that's the whole goal, is to be able to focus. We need something that can help us focus on where we need to go next. So let's talk about profitable programs, because this is going to be the next thing that you're going to need to do. You see, when you install profitable programs, what ends up happening is you can finally have the right offer. Because a lot of people, when they get started, they just come up with a random number of what they should be charging, or they do something even worse. They go and they price shop their potential competitors, and they try to figure out what they're charging, and then they charge something similar, either a little bit less so they can get a discount and be cheaper than everybody else, or a little bit more because they're the premium service. Seeing it happen both ways. The problem is that when you go about it this way, you don't really know what you're doing. And it's like just shooting in the dark. You have no idea what's going to work, what's not going to work. You see, when we actually started implementing profitable programs, it was a game changer for Caleb. Caleb is an absolutely incredible individual. Been working with him for a couple of years now. And when Caleb first started with us, he had 0 students. I mean, well, he had a family that was taking his kids and some of his extended family members kind of started the small school, but he wanted to grow a big school. And he knew that he didn't want to go slow. He wanted to just get in there, ramp it up, and not have to work a full-time job, not have to have his wife working a full-time job, like have a family-run business. So we got in there, and the first thing that we worked on were profitable programs, because we knew that Caleb didn't have this huge runway of cash. We needed to get cash in the door so that he could take that cash, turn it into the momentum he needed so his marketing would actually work. So that the new students that were signing up were literally paying for the ads that he was putting out. And it just was this flywheel effect. Sign up a new student, put it into ads, get another new student. Sign up a new student, put it into ads, get another new student. And because those students were stacking on top of each other, his revenue just started climbing like crazy. And so when you get your pricing right and you get your offer right, what you actually say, you make it an offer. I like to call it a Godfather offer. It's an offer so good that you can't refuse, right? That kind of offer where it seems like a no-brainer. Once we have that in place, just like what we did for Caleb, then we can go just like Caleb did from 0 to 30 grand a month within 12 months. Like, didn't have a problem, was able to get there really fast. That's the power of profitable programs. So what would we need to do next in order to really focus on this acquisition piece? Well, the next thing that we have to think about now that we have designed our offer is we need what I call magnetic marketing. But before we get into magnetic marketing, I want you to do something for me. I want you to score yourself. Did you score green? Are your programs profitable enough where when someone signs up, you literally have enough money left over that you can then insert it into ads and go get new students, new clients? Or is it more like yellow? It kind of is profitable. We actually don't even know how profitable it is. Maybe it's working. Like maybe sometimes we can afford to spend some advertising dollars, but most of the time we can't. Or is it red? Like, it doesn't matter. We don't even have enough money to spend on anything ads related. Go ahead and mark that down for me on your sheet, just so that you're keeping up with that. And let's talk about the magnetic marketing. When it comes to marketing, if we have the money to go spend on advertising, we definitely don't want to come with a bunch of dollar bills and just set them on fire. That's not going to do anybody any good. We need to come at it very strategically. And that is one of the reasons why we implement, and what I think that's so powerful is something called a marketing triangle. Marketing triangle is really a slap in the face to the gurus out there who tell you you need to go after one possible channel until you hit 1 million. I tried that. It doesn't work. It just really doesn't. It sounds good in theory. And I think for a lot of these gurus, the reason why they say that isn't because necessarily they did it. It's because they think back in hindsight, oh, I wish I would have just put all my energy into one channel. But in reality, they did a lot of things. They're kind of like the person who doesn't know how to swim. And because you feel like you're drowning, you're just flailing your arms all around, just trying to get some sort of traction. What these gurus didn't realize is that the flailing the arms around, there were some key things that they were doing to stay above water. And eventually they kept doing those things to stay above water. And then it turned into a swimming stroke. I just want to break it down and make it really easy. You need at least 3 different ways to get people to come to you every month. And when you have these 3 different ways, not 3 different channels, I'm not saying do one channel and then another and then another. I'm saying 3 ways. And within those ways, you're going to have multiple things that are going to be happening inside of that channel, inside of that way of getting people to come to you. You've got to have something where you're taking and leveraging your existing student body to generate you new students every month. You need something where you're going outside of your 4 walls or outside of your coaching program to actually speak to people and get them to come inside your schools, like physically getting out in the community, physically talking to people outside. And if you're online, we need to be able to leverage our social media to be able to do that. And then the third thing is we have to embrace the fact that we are online. You're watching this right now because we're online. So we need to make sure that our website's on point, our social media paid advertising on point, our organic marketing is on point, all those things in order to magnetize people to us. And we've got to be promoting all the time. All the time. If you're not promoting all the time, what are you doing? You're not enrolling students. I'll tell you that. So let's look at this next part. Now, the other thing that we got to take in consideration with magnetic marketing is that when we are no longer in a place where we're stuck with this one channel, and now we have multiple channels, we're not at the mercy of the algorithm or Mark Zuckerberg and what he thinks that Meta should be doing or how much you should pay. Now we have ways to get people here consistently so that we can take them and enroll them weekly. And this is the exact same thing that we did for Paula. Paula, she and her husband had a school before COVID, 300 plus students, like 200 to 300 students. They were doing great, absolutely great. COVID just decimated them. They had built that up over years. And when COVID hit, everything got locked down and they were locked down for months in their particular area. And because of this, when COVID ended, they had to start from scratch because all those students that they had, they'd moved on to other things. They'd replaced what they'd been doing with Paula and her husband with new things and didn't want to come back. That's when she turned to working with us and getting involved with this whole process. And she went from being a school bus driver to running a full-time business because she is an absolute beast at this. She was able to finally retire from that along with her husband retiring from his full-time job. And now they've been able to utilize this magnetic marketing to generate leads consistently. So they enroll new students every single week and even opened a second location because of this concept. So let's look at this and take a moment and let's see, where do you score yourself? If we're going to be looking at this, are you a green? You got it going on? Are you a yellow? I've only got one source or 2 sources. I don't have 3 different sources. Or are you a red? No, our marketing is not consistent. It's just kind of up to my whim of whatever we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Go ahead and grade yourself on that. And while you're doing that, let's take a look at this next thing that we need to focus on and what that's going to look like for us. And that is going to be scalable sales. We need a sales system that consistently brings in new students. If you're generating all of these leads, that's amazing. But if these leads are not signing up, they're not paying you money, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. I mean, there's a ton of ways to be able to generate leads that won't sign up. You could advertise and say, I'm going to teach you for free, and you're going to get a ton of people, a ton of leads. Doesn't mean that they're actually going to sign up with you. Doesn't mean that they're going to start with you. And when we had our client Steve come to us, Steve, incredible, retired police officer, served his community for years and had his school as a side business. And when he retired, he said, you know what? I'm going to go full in. I'm going to dedicate time to this. He had his curriculum down. He knew what he was going to teach. He'd been teaching it and developing that on the side, but he just didn't have the scalable sales. But he came in with an open mind. And a lot of times that's all you need. You need an open mind and you need a proven process. We were able to help him with that. He learned our process for sales. We call it the 3D framework. He learned how to discover what his potential students actually needed. He learned how to diagnose their problem. And then he turned that into, hey, here's how we're going to deliver on this promise. And because he was able to do that, he signed up one student a day for 90 days. 90 days. He had 90 students in a 90-day period. Absolute bonkers, this guy, because he was able to implement this. And it worked. And why did it work? Because it's proven, because it's not the first time that this system has enrolled people. And you've got to have something that can scale, where it doesn't just work for 1 or 2 or 3 students, like, oh, I signed them up because I was running this special this month and it worked because of that. You need something that you can just run day in and day out and it just scales. It works for 5 signups. It works for 10 signups. It works for 100 signups. The same proven process. So when it comes down to that, what would you say is your score? Where are you at? Are you thinking to yourself, well, I've got that proven system. I'm green. I know I can generate money and I have the same process. Every single day they come in, it's the same way. Whether I sign up 1 or whether I sign up 100, it's the same exact process. Or are you kind of stuck? I do things different. It depends on who's teaching the lesson. If I teach it and then I go to sign someone up, or if I do the sales presentation, I do it this way. But my business partner does it a different way. And so we're not on the same page about it. Or are you in the red? I just come up with deals depending upon how I'm feeling and how much money I need in the door. It's not the same day to day. Score yourself for me and let me know how this is working. Are you finding some stuff right now? Are you finding some areas, some gaps in the system and things that you need to focus on in order to actually create an acquisition system that can generate you leads that they can turn into students? I hope that you are. I hope that this is really helping you thus far. I know when I was going through this process and helping clarify with my clients, it helped them a ton. Once we can get people enrolled into our program, that's great. But remember, we don't want to be on the hamster wheel. We want to focus on retention. We want to be able to get people to stay with us and to stay for years. And when it comes to getting people to stay with us for years, there's some things that we've got to focus on this side over here. And one of them is what I call sticky students. You see, in the first couple of months, like I would say from that, let's say from week 1 through week 8, this is a critical time. I want you to think about those students are basically like fragile eggs. If you jostle them a little bit too much, they're gonna break. And when they break, it means they're gonna quit. So what do you do to get them to stick? And how do you do that? Well, I'm gonna give you an example from our own school. You see, this is exactly what we do in our flagship school. And when we rolled out, even beyond, we opened up our second location and then our third location. The last one we opened up went from 0 to about 130 students in a 6-month window with 0% net churn, meaning we were growing so fast and keeping the students as we were enrolling. I mean, we're enrolling like 1 month, I think we enrolled like 40 students in a month. Another month we enrolled like 30. Another month we enrolled 15. So there's a lot of months and a lot of new students. And when you're enrolling that many students, it can get pretty crazy. A lot of people may feel like they're just another number. So how do you get them to feel like they're not just another number, that they matter? Well, you need to map out a new student journey. You have to have something, touch points, to be able to make sure that that student feels seen, they feel valued, and you're setting the groundwork for them to move forward with you and stick around for years. This week 1 through week 8 period, my question for you is, do you have this mapped out? Do you have a pathway to get students to be sticky, to stay with you? If you don't, then you probably want to mark yourself a red. If you have a good system of, we talk to them, like we might send them a note in the mail when they join, or, we tend to make sure that we focus on them in the first couple of classes if we can. Yellow. If you're like, no, Jen, I've got every single day mapped out, and every single new student who comes in the door, they follow the same journey for their first 8 weeks, then you'd be green. Go ahead and score yourself on that. And soon you're going to be looking at your focus filter, and you're going to be able to tell exactly where you should be putting all of your energy. But let's say you get them past the first 8 weeks. The next thing that we need to incorporate is what I call milestone moments. We need people actually seeing results. We've got to make sure that as these guys are coming into our program, that they don't just go, wow, the first 8 weeks was incredible, but I feel like I learned everything, so I'm just going to move on. Because again, you're going to have monthly churn if that's the case. I was challenged a while ago when I first started working with my client, John. He's in the UK, very successful guy, has had a school for years before he started working with me. And now he does a lot of corporate work as well. But the thing is that in martial arts, it's pretty easy. Like, we've got belts you can put around your waist. Like, oh, you made it to the yellow belt, or you made it to the brown belt, or you made it to the black belt. With John, he didn't have a training, a method for putting belts on people. That wasn't something he was going to do. It didn't make sense. That wasn't his school. And he and I were talking a lot about it. And the thing that's more important is not that it's a piece of cloth around someone's waist. What's most important is that we're recognizing moments in the student's journey where they've had success, and there is a clear destination ahead. Like, we know, I need to get to this level to achieve, to get this reward. This milestone moment is going to occur to me when I get there. And so what John did when we were working together is mapped out an entire milestone moment system for his students that he was training. You know what happened next? He had students staying with him for years, He didn't have them quitting because they could actually see progress. They knew what was around the corner, and they wanted to get to what was around the corner. They didn't want to drop off. Do you have milestone moments? Do you have things in place where you go, yep, people know, they absolutely positively know that they're going to get to their goal by a certain time, or by getting a certain amount of work done? Yeah, green. I don't know that people know. They have a general idea of where they're going, but I don't have a specific time frame, and they definitely don't have it mapped out where they're going exactly. That's going to be a yellow. Or are you in the case of, I haven't even thought about this, and people just come and take classes and they come and work with me, and there's not really a goal except maybe the end goal. Like, I have that very clear. but nothing in between. Grade yourself. Green, yellow, red. And this is going to help us with the next piece, which if you get people sticking with you and they're starting to achieve these milestone moments, that's great. And you can definitely keep people excited about that for a few years. And I know that's probably better than what it may be right now with you at this moment. Maybe you're only getting people to stick with you for a few months. So you're like, oh, a few years sounds amazing. But if you really want to get people encouraged to stay with you and to do it in a systematic method, you need something that we call ascension altitude. Okay, what is ascension altitude? Well, the real question is, do we want people experiencing the same thing? I tend to think that, especially in today's society, people get bored really fast. And when people get bored, what do? They quit. They don't want to keep doing it. But they say that the father of all learning or the mother of all learning, I don't know which one it is. But anyway, they say that you need to repeat stuff a lot. You can let me know in the comments. What's that expression? Is it the mother of all learning is repetition or something like that? Or the father of all learning is repetition? I don't know. I think the other partner in that relationship is boredom, right? If we're repeating stuff a lot, we know we got to repeat it to get better, but our experience doesn't change. We tend to be bored. And when someone is bored and they're seeing slow, maybe not no progress, but they're seeing slow progress, they tend to quit. And unfortunately, we can't just microwave success. It doesn't work like that. We're not just sticking something in the microwave and then popping it out, bing, right? And all of a sudden they've achieved their goals. It doesn't work like that. It's going to take time. We've got to actually have an oven, right? We need that oven. We got to have that little window there. We need their dials on the oven, and we're going to have to bake their success for a long time. It's got to stay in there for a while. So that means we need this ascension altitude. I'll tell you, I have a client of mine. His name is Brandon. And when Brandon came to us, he had students already. He had reached a sort of plateau, though. He had started growing, but these students and his enrollments and all the different systems in his school, a lot of these were kind of just bland. They were just moving along, but there was nothing that the students were particularly looking forward to. They were looking just at training. And so once we worked on developing out this ascension altitude, where we had another program we stacked on top of his main program, kind of like a mountain. We're building one and then another and another. When we stacked that first program on top, now people could actually look up instead of looking straight ahead and just walking through this valley. Now they're looking up. They're going, there's a mountain I can climb. And because of that, he started selling these programs to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars because people wanted to climb the summit. They wanted to reach a higher altitude. And people want to do that with your programs too. But if you don't have a program developed, number one, they're going to get bored and they're going to quit. And number two, you won't be able to generate additional revenue on top of the revenue that you're generating. So my question for you is, again, where are you at on this? Would you say that you have a program in place, that you've got it? You have clear ascension. They can climb, stack one on top of the other. They can move up. Would you say that I have a general program, like they pay me a little bit extra each month and they get to come to an extra session, extra class, or maybe a private coaching or something like that? Maybe that would be a yellow. Or, you come over here and you grab some red because I don't even have one of those. They're just training. They're just learning. They're just growing. And it just kind of happens organically. Grade yourself in that. And while you're doing that, let's look over here at this team side of things, because let's say that we get those new students to signing up every week, and then we have students that are staying for years. But now we're trying to move out of that growth phase, and we're trying to start moving out in our money map over here. So we've got this taken care of, but now we've got to start figuring out how to get some team if we ever want to break through 100K a month. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing that we have to do is we need a talent incubator. You know, I live on a farm, and we have chickens, and we have pigs, and we have a horse. And the really interesting thing is that when you have eggs for the chicken, you can incubate those eggs. You can hatch those eggs. You can take those eggs and you can place them in that incubator, and they can stay there for a few weeks, and they can turn into your next batch, your next group of chickens. They're going to provide for you. They're going to provide eggs or meat or whatever you want to do on your farm. But you have to put them under intense heat, and it has to be a certain temperature for a certain duration in order for those eggs to hatch. I want you to think, if you currently have a system in place to be able to hatch out new talent, to incubate that talent inside of your school, to become the next coaches, the next instructors, the next front desk people. Usually people have a problem with this because they don't have very good culture. They don't have a container. So if you think about the incubator, they don't have a container. They're just trying to put heat on top of these eggs, but the heat is being dispersed. It's going everywhere because they don't have that culture. And what is culture? It's our standards, it's our values, and it's our mission. And if we have the right standards and people know what those are, and they understand our values, and they know the direction we're going with our mission, now we have culture. And one of the clients, I think, who does an incredible job at this, his name is Chris. Chris is not only a martial artist, but he's a musician. And he's on the road. Like, he tours with his band and has record deals and like all those types of things. But he loves martial arts. He loves teaching. He loves his school. And his students love him. But he is a really good musician. And for years, Chris kind of was struggling with, do I just go all in on my music career and just leave these students? Or do I ditch my music career and focus on the students? And for him, neither would have made him happy because he enjoys both. He understood that in order for his music career to take off, he had to be able to leave. He couldn't just stay at his school. He had to have a team who could run his classes when he wasn't there, and to do it consistently with the same level of authority, with the same level of expertise that he has. And so Chris started working on this talent incubation process, creating that culture and working on leadership development, really training the team to do what it is that he wanted them to do. And that allowed him to be able to develop out a system to generate new talent regularly, because these guys aren't going to stay forever. We know that. There's going to be a few people that may be with you for years as far as talent goes. And the ones that you can really pour into, you can lean into, those can be your foundational team members that get you to multiple seven figures. But once we get through this talent incubation process, and now we have talent that is getting warmed up, right? We're getting them in a place where they're going to be hatching soon. Well, we've got to have something else for them to follow. I call it the S&P 1 million. You might have heard of the S&P 500. What is the S&P 1 million? It's systems and processes. If you have this amazing team, it doesn't matter if you have an amazing team and they have no idea what they're supposed to be doing day to day, and they have to keep coming back to you to find out what they should be doing. You say, I want you to run this session. And they go, okay, cool. What do you want me to teach? How do you want me to do this? And you're like, I don't know, just teach something. You don't have a system. Or you have a situation come up. Someone's not happy for whatever reason, and you would know exactly what to do to make them happy. But if they're in front of one of your team members, that team member has no clue what to do, so they make up their own process. This was kind of happening to a client of mine. His name is Alex, incredible dude from Australia. Absolutely love getting on calls with him. You see, Alex has a different model than a lot of school owners. Alex has a group of instructors who then go out to schools physically and they teach in campuses all across Australia. It was a crazy, crazy ride. He had this big vision and people really were attracted to his leadership, but they were all doing different stuff. When we started working together, we started mapping out his SMPs. Like, what are your systems? What are your processes? Because when it comes down to systems have to be repeatable. They have to be teachable. You got to be able to teach them to other people. They have to be measurable. Did we do it? Did we not do it? There has to be a score somewhere. And someone has to be accountable. That's a real system. And so once we started doing this with Alex, running a very chaotic business to running a business that operated like a machine, just day in, day out, it was moving forward. So when it comes to you, where are you at in this S&P 1 million? Are you at the place where, man, it's kind of hard. I don't know if we have any systems. Maybe you have nothing, right? Are you at a place where you have a few, but you don't have them all mapped out? We just kind of wing it whenever we need to? Or, yeah, it runs without me every single day the same way. Okay, what is the last one? We've got our talents. We've got our S&P 1 million. Financial freedom. Without financial freedom, you can't hire this talent and keep them on. Maybe you hire them and you burn through your cash, but there's nothing that you're going to be able to do to motivate them to stay because you don't have any cash. And when we're looking at this financial freedom over here, really what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out if we had a dashboard that had all of our most important metrics on it, could we make decisions from that dashboard? If you're able to do that, running business and running a business becomes phenomenally easier. Like absolutely easy. You can know, oh, the gauge says we're down in this area, so I need to turn up the volume here. Oh, this pressure is a little high. I should turn it down and release the steam valve over here. It becomes super easy because you have a dashboard. You know exactly where your numbers are, what it needs to look like. You have data you can compare to historically in the past. That's what Bill did. Now, Bill has been teaching and coaching since the 80s. And he's kind of an OG, right? He's been there, he's done that. But he didn't hit seven figures because he knew how to be an OG, a gangster, right? Like he's been around. He hit seven figures because he became obsessed with his numbers and knowing how much revenue he did, how many upgrades they had moved into their Ascension program, how many new students, how many leads they were getting. He became obsessed with their lead to appointment, their appointment to set rate, their show rate, like all of these things that he could look at his dashboard and go, we're on the right track, or something's wrong and I need to investigate. He has the ability to do a pulse check. He knows what the pulse and rhythm of his business is at all times, which allows him to make very strategic decisions and have financial freedom. And Bill's at the place right now where he's looking at, what am I going to do? I'm getting up there in age and I want to be able to look at what my next steps are for this business, for my family. His kids are graduating school, starting their careers, moving on with their education. And he wants to be there for that. He wants to enjoy that season of his life with his wife and his kids. And he wants to move into that next stage, but he can only do it because he has financial freedom. So let's take a moment here and let's look at what we've done so far. And you could take a second to grade yourself. Where are you at? Are you here? You got this all dialed in. You know exactly everywhere you need to be. Maybe you're in the yellow. You've got a few key metrics, but you wouldn't say that you have a dashboard or that you make decisions from numbers. You make decisions by how you feel. Or maybe you're red. You don't even know what the numbers are in your business or what numbers should be. And now if we look at this, we've got a very clear system. Maybe you have a lot of things on red, you got a few on green, maybe some on yellow. The most important thing you do now is that you choose. And I would stick with choosing 1 to 3. You're going to make these things your rocks. These are going to be the things that you're going to focus on for the next, I don't know, month, 3 months, 6 months in order to move the business forward. And you're going to choose the ones that are going to give you the most leverage first. Use that. Like if you're not making any money right now, focusing on financial freedom probably isn't the best place to start because you're not making any money. We need to get some leads in. We need to get some new students in. And we need to figure out how we scale up through the system that I shared with you earlier. And look, if all this is making sense for you and you're like, yeah, I get it, but I think I need some help getting there faster, and you don't want to keep spinning your wheels forever, you'd really like a strategy that's simple, that's effective for getting there, then that could be a signal that you and I should have a conversation. So what I'd like for you to do is just go hit me up on Instagram. You can go to the Jennifer Waters and send me a message and just put SENSEI in the message, SENSEI. That's going to let me know that you watched this video, and we'll have a conversation about what it might look like for you to get some help and be able to hit your 7 figures with this blueprint. All right. I'll see you in the DMs.